you actually lived there in that time, you're too close to it. It's too raw, and it takes a generation. It takes people like me who have respect for what happened, have respect for the culture, that are revisiting dishes of their childhood. Our driving force has been, how do we get more people to understand and respect the cuisine? I ultimately want people to have this food in their Rolodex. I love when I overhear a table with a host and cheersing. It makes me feel like I helped.
Recording now, starting our conversation and create. Welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States. My name is Joe Bernardo, and I'm joined by my fellow hosts,
Cat.
And today we have our guest who serves as the host of the show, Lost in LA, Nathan Masters. Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks. We are at the historic Tribal Cafe. This was once called Traveler's Cafe, which was a Filipino restaurant actually dating back to the 1940s. In the 80s it closed down, but then Joshua Jose opened this Tribal Cafe in 2005. So I wanted to ask you, what did you know about kind of the Filipino American community coming into this episode? I mean, honestly, not a lot, right? So we've been researching the episode for a few months, so learned a lot through that. But what I'll say is that this has been like the most requested episode that we've done. So I'm happy that we're finally doing it. Yeah.
This program was made possible in part by a grant from the Ralph M. Parsons Foundation and the Los Angeles County Department of Arts and Culture and Creative Recovery, LA.
There's still a lot that I have to learn by interviewing people. But the episode we're going to start with the story of Pedro Flores, who I'm sure all your listeners know popularized the yo-yo in America. That history was sort of forgotten. We think that's an interesting place to start. We're going to interview Florante Ibanez.
Florante.
So he shepherded the Filipino American Library for a long time, but he also collected a lot of materials related to the yo-yo and Flores' history. And that's now part of the archives at Cal State Topeka Hills.
This one is interesting. It's by the Goody Company, like in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Most Americans probably not aware that the yo-yo emerges from the Filipino American community.
The common story is that it was actually back in Grecian times, because there's a vase supposedly showing somebody with something that looks like a yo-yo.
Okay, I see.
That's dangling from their finger.
So there are precursors, but it was a Filipino American man named Pedro Flores who popularized it as a toy here in Southern California.
Yes. He originally had his factory up in Santa Barbara. He was a boarder at a hotel working there after he had decided not to finish Hastings Law School, and he wanted to become a businessman. So he thought of this yo-yo idea based on the fact that he read somewhere about the guy who did the paddleball with this rubber band.
Right.
And so he thought of the yo-yo, which was a toy that they were using in the Philippines for a number of years. And even our national hero in the Philippines, Jose Rizal, journaled himself coming to America and showing people it and demonstrating it, and even saying that it was used as a weapon in the Philippines.
a weapon. Yeah.
Yes, it's in the archives of the Philippines, that his excerpt from his journal,
Yeah.
he says that. So it's like, oh,
So Flores was familiar with the yo-yo from his childhood.
right. So he opened up a factory in Santa Barbara, and he started manufacturing it. And the difference between his yo-yo and the bandoliers that were patented by other people beforehand that looked like yo-yos was that with their yo-yos or their bandoliers, the string was attached to the axle, so it would just go up and down and up and down and up and down. His idea was to just make a loop on the axle so it would stay down. So it's like those games, walking the dog.
I've seen it.
And all that. And that was his twist on it.
But the name itself was a winning element. Like
Right.
yo-yo, I mean, has a real ring to it.
In Tagalog, my understanding is that it means go and come back, or go and go. And so, it kind of fit. He moved down to LA, and then he actually opened up 2 places in Los Angeles. I had 3 factories going all at once, and he did like 30,000 yo-yos in 1 month. He became so popular that the owner of the Duncan Yo-Yo Company at the time wanted to buy him out. The story goes that was kind of their downfall, because when he tooled up for plastic instead of wood, he had to sell his company as well. $750,000 is what Duncan paid Pedro Flores.
This is a lot of money back then.
That's pretty amazing for a Filipino immigrant during the Depression.
Yeah.
He became the main salesman for Duncan after that. And then he had demonstration teams, majorly made up of Filipino immigrants like himself, sponsored by Duncan's money, to go around the country to demonstrate the yo-yo.
In 1932, I met Pedro, and he said, "Come here."